5 long months of waiting are over. The British racing season is finally upon us, but with it still comes wintry weather, and the opening round of the British Formula 3 Championship will see cars starting on a wet Thruxton circuit. The drivers had, however, left the pit lane on slicks, and like Thomas Scheckter here, the pole position man, the newcomer to the series, the fastest man in practice, they'd been trying to ascertain the grip levels from their tyres. Scheckter stalling the car rather embarrassingly there as he follows teammate Narain Karthikeyan around to the grid. Father Jody, Ferrari's last world champion back in 1979, waiting for his younger racing son to arrive. And the camera clearly showing the weather far from clement as Scheckter weaves his way through the crowded F3 grid. The youngster was the sensation of qualifying. He had managed to outrun the man who'd been fastest in all pre-season testing, Brazil's Antonio Pizzonia. Pizzonia would line up alongside him on the outside of the front row. And Thomas would be waiting for the Stewart team to fit new wet weather tyres. Alongside him, Pizzonia, car number 1. Last year's Renault Sport Championship winner, as was Manor Motorsport driver Mark Hines before him. Hines it was who gained the number 1, winning last year's British Formula 3 Championship for the team. Third spot on the grid to another rookie, Andy Priaulx. 3 new names on the first 3 positions of the grid. Priaulx driving for the Works Renault team. Alongside him, a man starting his 5th season in British Formula 3, Michael Bentwood. Well, the drivers at least have got helmets and visors to keep them dry as the rain turns to hail and the prospect perhaps even of snow later on. Narain Karthikeyan in 6th place on the grid. He's driving for Stewart Racing Team after an impressive debut season in 1999 with Carlin Motorsport. Well, Carlin have picked up another of last year's impressive rookies, the Japanese Takuma Sato. A couple of races in the national class showed his pace. He'll start on slicks, and that is certainly a win or crash combination. On pole in the scholarship class, another young gun, Gary Paffett. Last year's McLaren Autosport Young Driver of the Year, much fancied for future success, to follow perhaps in the footsteps of new F1 driver Jenson Button. Well, the crowd can shelter under their umbrellas. The drivers, there's no shelter left. Now is the time to take on the brand new resurfaced Thruxton circuit in the rain for the first time. The red lights are on, away they go. Thomas Scheckter on pole position, but not a good start from him. Green car of Antonio Pizzonia around the outside, and the second Stewart car there, that is Narain Karthikeyan. 3 wide, he's going around the second row of the grid men. So Pizzonia leads, then it's Stewart drivers Scheckter and Karthikeyan. Poor start there from Scheckter from pole position, even worse for his teammate. Juan Manuel Lopez has to get pushed away from the grid in his first Formula 3 start. Into the country then for the first time, and everybody driving in blinding spray apart from leader Antonio Pizzonia. They're all looking to make moves before the rhythm of the race settles down though, and look at that! Down the inside of Scheckter there, Karthikeyan having a look, and similar moves going on all the way back through the spray. The Stewart boys fighting each other. Just behind them, the yellow car is Matt Davis, the first of the Renault runners, and Martin O'Connell. He's off in the grass, last year's national class champion for Rowan Racing in the grass. His race has ended early. Pizzonia coming up the hill, and behind him the 2 Stewart drivers, Scheckter and then Karthikeyan in his spray, in his wake. And that's good news for Pizzonia as he comes through the chicane for the first time. It means that Scheckter in 2nd place is having to concentrate at least as much on the man behind him, his own teammate, as he is on the race leader. Oh, and who's that going off? That's Michael Bentwood, the red and white car, spinning right across the bows of Renault driver Matt Davies. He was between the 2 Renault cars of Davies and Priaulx, and it looks as though Davies has just managed to avoid hitting him. Well, here come the Stewart pair, and again Karthikeyan showing the nose to Scheckter as they come into Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave, the 3 slow corners in the complex at Thruxton. Scheckter not very inclined to let him by, but at the moment it looks as though Karthikeyan's quicker. Big wiggle there from the yellow car of Matt Davis in 5th place, and look at that, Bentwood back up to 7th. He lost 3 places with his spin. He's back ahead of Milos Pavlovic in the RC Benetton car. There is the 4th place runner, that's Andy Priaulx in the Renault. Davis in the Renault in 5th place. 6th place, Gary Paffett, the scholarship class leader. Great run from him. The blue car here of Thai Tor Sriacharvanan is chasing Takuma Sato, one of only two men in the race on slick tyres. The other one, his Carlin Motorsport teammate Ben Collins, also struggling. Karthikeyan again looking at Scheckter as they come into the chicane. Again, Scheckter holds him off, but they are fighting each other rather than working together to catch the leader. Karthikeyan moves over to the right-hand side of the track to get a clean vision as they come around over the start-finish line, just to see where Pitsonia has got to. When he's following Scheckter that closely, all he sees is a wall of water. Battle in the scholarship class, the silver car 77 is Mark Mayle. He's been run by Diamond Racing that ran Takuma Sato last year ahead of Craig Fleming and Warren Carway, the Irish driver, last year a national class runner. Carway this year in the number 18 machine there. He's in the championship class, the brand new machines. This is Ben Collins, the second Carlin Motorsport car. He is really struggling here. Just look at the way the car is moving all over the road as he tries to accelerate. He's on slick tyres, don't forget, unlike everybody else in the field bar his teammate. See how well the leader tracked round on his wet tyres. And this is Ben Collins' teammate Takuma Sato. Just losing it there as he tries to make the right-hander at the end of the pits. Well, no damage done there, but I'm sure he is really regretting the decision to run on slick tyres. The battle just outside the top 12 goes past, and at the top of the screen there, Takuma Sato again spinning, this time at high speed, the fastest part of the track, the braking area for the chicane. A little cover for the shock absorbers has come off the nose there. That won't slow him down too much, certainly not compared to running on slick tyres on such a streaming wet surface. Warren Carway chasing Mark Mayle as they come towards us, and Craig Fleming, well, he's in a battle of his own with Tor Sriacharvanan. 16 Sriacharvanan, the all-blue car goes past him, and the leader continuing to edge away from the Stewart Racing drivers. Scheckter now less under a constant challenge from Karthikeyan. I think Karthikeyan has eased off on that a little bit to allow them both to use the ideal racing line, which is the only way they have a chance of catching the men out front. Antonio Pitsonia, dominant in last year's Formula Renault Championship in Great Britain and in Europe, only lost the European Championship by a couple of points because he didn't do all the races, dominated in the British Series with Manor Motorsport, and there, in fact, in the red and white machine, Gianmaria Bruni is the man who won the Formula Renault Euro Cup. He qualified here in 12th place, working his way up the field, as increasingly the Stewart pair are being left behind. Ex-Caterham racer Mark Mayle in 77 with the experienced Irishman Warren Carway behind him. This is Carway's third season in British Formula 3. Mark Mayle very much the rookie here, but he's got plenty of experience in handling a tail-happy car with low grip, so this first Formula 3 race in the rain may not be the worst way for him to start. Carway piling on the pressure. He's managed to sneak past Craig Fleming before to get onto the tail of Mark Mayle. And here are Bruni and Nicholas Chiesa in the pale blue car there. He's the second of the RC Benetton team entries. This Italian team new to the British Championship, but he was third quickest in the last official Formula 3 test behind the real pace setters, so he could be a big name to watch for the future. And there is his teammate, the Yugoslav Pavlovic. And there again, Gianmaria Bruni with the second Benetton car right behind him, both of them getting a little bit sideways out of the chicane. And Ben Collins has got a little bit too sideways. He's over beached on the grass. Looks as though he has conceded defeat there, and the car very definitely stopped and he is ready to bail out. The marshals will need to clear that up because he is right on the edge of the racing line. Meanwhile, Warren Carway makes the copybook move at the chicane, dives down the inside of Mark Mayle under braking, and Mayle now under threat as well from the Thai driver Tor Sriacharvanan. Collins will reattach the steering wheel to allow the car to be manoeuvred. Pitsonia working his way through the chicane, and the race leader quite comfortably ahead now of second place Thomas Scheckter. Lorraine Karthikeyan in third, and there just ahead of him is the Japanese Takuma Sato, going very slowly indeed. My goodness me, Pitsonia approaching him at a huge rate of knots. Can't get past, almost lost him in the blinding spray there. The high intensity rear light is still very hard indeed to see when there's this much water in the air. Antonio Pitsonia leads from the two white machines, the Stewart Racing entries of Thomas Scheckter, the pole position man, and Narain Karthikeyan, the second-year driver. Behind them, a battle between the two Renault drivers as they go past Takuma Sato, and Matt Davis, the second one there, just squeezing through the chicane ahead of Sato. The Japanese on slicks and being lapped now by the front runners. There in sixth place, the scholarship class leader, as for cars a year old or older, and that is Gary Paffett having a great time. Takuma Sato not having a good time. Teammate Ben Collins already out of the race, and the second slickshod Carlin Motorsport car proving that gambling on slicks was a losing bet this weekend. Sato off the racetrack, and this number 2 machine, Juan Manuel Lopez, the Argentine, the teammate of the race leader Antonio Pizzonia, passing Philip Hopkins. Juan Manuel had a stall car on the grid, started stone last, and he's working his way up the order. Safety car now out to allow the marshals to rescue the 2 Carlin Motorsport cars. He will pick up the leader and the field will progress slowly. And this is Takuma Sato, the second of the Carlin cars, both of whom started on slicks, going off for the final time. Into the tyre barriers he goes. And I'm sure, although he didn't much like the impact, that will probably come as welcome relief. Struggling around on slicks, being lapped by the field, not much fun. Well, the crowd under cover, so no sign of umbrellas there, but still streaming wet on the racetrack. 2 laps of the circuit behind the safety car to allow the Carlin cars to be cleared safely away. Antonio Pizzonia in the lead, back marker between him and Thomas Scheckter. Scheckter not allowed to pass until he gets to the start-finish line. Now he can go, but Pizzonia's already got a huge jump ahead. Similarly for Narain Karthikeyan, a back marker between him and Scheckter, the second place man. So Karthikeyan also being held up at the start, and that was a great break for Pizzonia. The 2 lap cars now behind the steward entries in second and third, and behind them the pair of Renault drivers also in traffic, and Matt Davis has made a move. Andy Priaulx gets back in front. Davis comes out of the corner quicker, and Matt Davis has swapped positions with Andy Priaulx, his teammate. The second yellow Renault of Priaulx now with Gary Paffett alongside him, and right behind Michael Bentwood and Milos Pavlovic. So there's a 4-car battle there for 6th position. Tail of the field, this is Christian Colombo, 51, following Philip Hopkins. They're in the middle of the front runners though, those 2 back marker drivers. Well, unintentionally, they've helped Antonio Pizzonia. He has now got almost as much of a lead as he did before the safety car. There is Matt Davis working his way between those 2 slower cars. Not much slower, but slightly slower. And there on the left is Andy Priaulx. Priaulx under all sorts of pressure. Michael Bentwood comes down the inside. He's monstering down inside Priaulx. The back marker ahead of him, though. And that undid a perfect passing manoeuvre there by Bentwood. Bentwood has, meanwhile, got ahead of Gary Paffett. He moves up into 6th position. And it could have been 5th, but for that back marker in the chicane. Paffett still leading the scholarship class. He's in 7th position. And right on the heels of 5th and 6th place men, Priaulx and Bentwood. Well, there is the leader, and there are the 2 Stewart Racing entries. Thomas Scheckter in 2nd place, the man who started on pole, and in 3rd, Narain Karthikeyan, who started in 6th place. After qualifying, it didn't go quite as well as he would have liked. So the great start by Karthikeyan really helping him there. But the great restart by Antonio Pizzonia means his lead is now very substantial indeed. The battle for 8th. In 8th place, the red and white machine is Gianmaria Bruni. Alongside him now, Nicholas Chiesa trying to monster his way round, and that's Mark Mayle. That is Allard, the first corner, and he has gone off there. Looks like his race is ended, unless he intends continuing with 3 wheels. Antonio Pizzonia into the chicane once more, untroubled and unflustered. In 2nd place, Thomas Scheckter, again unharassed by Narain Karthikeyan in 3rd. Karthikeyan gave it everything early on in the race, but lost out in the restart. 4th place now is Matt Davis in the first of the Promatecmi Renault engine cars. 5th place teammate is Andy Priaulx, and in 6th place, Michael Bentwood. Behind him in 7th place is Gary Paffett, the scholarship class leader. And replay there, and that is a fairly substantial thump into the barriers for Mark Mayle. Hands off the steering there when he realised there was nothing he could do to save it. And that's a very sensible move indeed, avoiding damaged thumbs and wrists. Torshria Charvanen, the dark blue car, just in the corner of the picture, ahead of this battle further back. And the white car there is Atsushi Katsumata. Juan Manuel Lopez. Oh, good move down the inside by Lopez. The Argentine passes the Japanese, and those two a pair of 12 different nationalities racing in the British Formula 3 Championship. Still the leading Formula 3 Championship in the world, perhaps the world's best junior training ground for Formula 1 stars. Oh, somebody goes off into the barriers, and that is Craig Fleming. And he's gone off at the chicane. Very easy indeed to get it all wrong at the top of Woodham Hill, breaking into the club chicane. Very difficult indeed. Come over a blind brow pretty much into the chicane. Very easy to outbrake yourself, especially when traction is low. Gary Paffett in 7th place, still chasing Michael Bentwood, still hasn't given up the hope of 6th position here. And there is Andy Prio, he's just ahead of them in 5th place, chasing his teammate who he did head earlier on until the restart when Matt Davis got the better of him in backmarker traffic. Antonio Pizzonia still leading comfortably from Thomas Scheckter. The gap is coming down though, Scheckter now closer to Pizzonia than he is to his teammate behind him, Narain Karthikeyan in 3rd. Thomas Scheckter reckoned by Dad Jody to be the better of the racing brothers. Toby Scheckter was in the British Formula 3 Championship last year, but Jody certainly reckons that Thomas really has what it takes. John Booth, the boss of Manor Motorsport himself, a former racer, and he is the man who took Mark Hines to last year's British Formula 3 Championship, a debut year for the team, and he rescued Hines' career. Torshuya Chavanen being caught here by teammate in the Alan Docking Racing crew, Wesley Barber, and the British teenager, a winner in the French Formula Campus Championship, made a good name for himself in single-seater racing in France, now back for a crack at Britain's top single-seater category. Well, it looks as though Pizzonia is starting to ease off the pressure a little bit out front. He had about a 6-second advantage after the restart, but now as he comes onto the final lap at Thruxton, it's considerably less than that. Just a couple of seconds between him and Thomas Scheckter, but that'll be enough. The battle for 6th place continues. Michael Bentwood, will he hold off? Yes, he just holds off Gary Paffett. Paffett runs out wide then to try and come through the chicane quicker. He got much better drive into the second element, but because Bentwood was so slow, had to come back off the throttle as they cross start-finish line. The battle is still on. Meanwhile, heading out into the country for the final time is the leader, Antonio Pizzonia, the Brazilian, as Wesley Barber short-circuits the chicane, gets ahead of Torshuya Chavanen, tried to do it under braking clean, he didn't quite manage it. The Manor Motorsport crew waiting now for Antonio Pizzonia to come into view. He's coming through the chicane for the final time now. Slower cars ahead of him, but that won't be a worry. Thomas Scheckter behind him, and that won't be a worry either. The opening round of the British Formula 3 Championship goes to the Brazilian Antonio Pizzonia. His first race in Formula 3, his first win, and just as they did last year, Manor Motorsport opened their season with victory. For 6th place, Michael Bentwood again holding off Gary Paffett. Paffett goes around the outside, fantastic move, they touch, they both spin. Through goes the Yugoslav, Milos Pavlovic. Will either of them get going? Yes, Paffett does. That's Gianmaria Bruni going past, so too Nicholas Chiesa. Now Paffett will come across the line. He will take 9th place, still wins the scholarship class, but it could have been 6th. Antonio Pizzonia though, no problems for him, no mistakes, a great start, a great restart, superb control to win the race. But poor Michael Bentwood's 23 faultless laps, he just doesn't quite make it to the flag at the end of it. And this is why around the outside went Gary Paffett, Bentwood guarding the inside line, wheel to wheel, and Bentwood running out of grip. In fact, he slid wide into Paffett's car as he came into the chicane. The two of them spin, and Bentwood was left on the curbs. Well, Antonio Pizzonia then, the opening round of the British Formula 3 Championship goes to the young Brazilian, continuing his winning ways here in Britain. Scheckter and Karthikeyan, the other podium finishers. And the points going to Davis, Prio and Pavlovic. Pavlovic picking up 6th position there as a result of that last corner incident.